Hello everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to the channel. I have tips, tricks, hacks, ideas for you today. I'm so excited to be sharing with you all about pattern paper, but then about 20-something tips for card making along the way. All right, I'm going to show you in order of my excitement these paper pads that just came out from scrapbook.com. Okay, if you want to skip this part, I put it on the screen. But that jolly one's cute. Now candy, now we're talking more my speed. I like these colors. This hue is really cute. Like I said, it gets more exciting as we go. Like I put them in order of how much I love them. Super cute, enchanted. I'm showing you the bigger ones, even though they come in the A2 size also. But the patterns are so cute. And I'm even going to show you an A2 size one here in a second so you can see that the pattern fits on each of the sheets. But really, really great pattern paper here. And this is really the only way that I get pattern paper is just all in one coordinated place. Otherwise, I'm a mess trying to figure out. But look how cute. We're going to make a card with that. It reminds me of grade school little paper sheets. Oh, so adorable. This one is the Valentine's Day theme, and wait till you see what we do with those hearts. Okay, moving up, vintage. Wow. I saw this and I was like, thank you, because I love mixed media, but I feel still, I'm okay with it, but I just am still intimidated. This makes it so much easier for me to add stuff to it. So I'm really excited to show you a card I'm going to make with that. And then again, here's the smaller one, just so you can see like the patterns and how they fit on the A2 size. Really, really, really pretty. I'm loving them all so far, but this buckle up because this is incredible. So scrapbook.com created a paper pack with sturdy pattern paper where it is ink blended perfectly for you with different colors. Now on the right hand side, you have the ombre look. On the left hand side, you have an ink blended look. So it's even different front to back. So I was super geeked out about this because it's just amazing. I mean, they really look like beautifully blended. I showed my daughter one of the cards we made from today, and she was like, wow, you blended that? I said, no, I sure didn't. Is it cheating? I don't know. I don't think so. I was still creative when I put my card together. So, all right, let's get into this now. 6 ways, actually, you can use your pattern paper. The first one is to stencil on top of a pattern design. Now, here's a quick tip, grip mat storage. I like to put my grip mat in a plastic coating envelope. That way I don't have to mess with any acetate to pull it in and out. So that's a little tip for you. Now, second tip, shade your stenciling. So when you put down a lighter color, go back in with a darker color and just go on the corners. Watch the dimension that you get just from doing that little tip there. It looks so pretty and it looks a lot more 3D-ish. So try that out. That's a lot of fun to do. So I'm just stenciling over an already created piece of pattern paper. Now, an additional tip here as well. I probably should stop saying that because I have so many in this video. You'll see it up on the screen, the additional tip. Sometimes I like to use the foam tool for very intricate pieces when I'm stenciling. I find it to be a lot easier to get that ink in there without having to ink it up constantly. So there's my finished panel there, and this is how I finished it off. I cut it down, and then I placed some glitter cardstock behind, a nice, beautiful, bold sentiment on top, and then I put it cattywampus, crooked, on the front of my card, and there you have it. Now let's move into the second way you can use your pattern paper. Use it as it's intended. Before we get into that, here is a great way to not make a mistake on your actual project, especially if you're using pattern paper. You don't want to waste it. Use just a plain piece of white cardstock first to test out and make sure they're straight. You can also use acetate for perfect alignment as well. That's another way to do it. I'm going to show you a different way to use acetate in just a second. So I'm just going to stamp out some really cute sentiments here on that lined grade school looking paper, because I thought it was so fun to use. And this is just from the last tip. Just stencil over a little bit, maybe around your sentiment or your images, and just add a little bit of extra. And you don't even have to re-ink it. I just used the same. No, I think I'm lying to you. I am re-inking it. But you don't have to, especially if you have the foam tools. The foam tools hold on to that ink quite a bit. Okay, so truth be told, because I'm not here to tell you lies, I'm not 100% excited about this card, but I kept it in because I think there's elements to it that could still help with creative juices. All right. So that's why we're keeping it. Number one, I like the idea of using a die on the front of it without making a shaker card. I'm just going to put some glitter cardstock behind there. Also, I want to show you a tip for acetate. Instead of for perfect alignment, you can actually use it to stamp out something, because I thought this big sentiment would look really good at the top. Once I got that on the acetate, I was like, oh my goodness, that is too busy and doesn't even fit. Doesn't match, nothing good about it. So I just wiped it clean real quick, just used a microfiber cloth, and I can reuse that acetate again, which I do with my second sentiment that I'm going to try out and see if this works better. Now, I didn't like that one either, stamped on it, but I did end up doing white heat embossing on black cardstock and just cutting it out for the top. That worked out way better for me. Okay, so that's another way that you can use your acetate. Just kind of see if you like it. You probably could just use the printing from the stamp set itself also and kind of place it over there and see if that looks good, but I find it too busy with all the other stuff. All right, next tip, use anti-static powder. Now this can be cornstarch. I don't know if they make baby powder anymore, but that, or you can buy an anti-static powder bag, and that's going to minimize the extra white flakes from your heat embossing. So that is definitely something to consider. And then additional tip, just do all your sentiments at once. Like don't, I was only going to use 1 or 2 of these, maybe 3, but I was like, I can use these as I make Valentine's Day cards. So I'm just going to heat emboss them all at once, save myself some time. And then I have a little container off to the side that has extra sentiments in it. So I'm using fine white heat embossing powder right here. Gives a really nice, crisp, clear image. And then I'm going to put like a silicone mat or something underneath to prevent warping of my craft mat. So that's something I like to do as well. And then I am going to heat set that and then cut out the sentiment I thought I wanted at the top, which I end up really liking it. Okay, so I think what I would do differently on this card is I wanted to put them over to the left as if like you're taking notes in class, but I left weird spacing. And so I think that's probably one of the reasons I don't like that part of the card. But it's okay, we're going to roll with it, and I'm going to show you how I finished it off as well. I put some glitter cardstock right behind that heart. I thought that was a nice element and super fun to do. Very easy too. You don't have to worry about making a shaker card just because you put a die cut in the front of your card panel. All right, so we get that done, and then I'm just going to really assemble my card. I softened the look of my card panel and my base by just using a corner rounder. I like to do that sometimes, especially if there's circular images that I'm using, like images with curved edges, like hearts. And so I feel like that kind of finishes off the look. So I'm going to pop up my cute little gnome here. And he's adorable and super fun and easy to color. I used some real brush pens and Bristol smooth cardstock for that coloring. Very fast too. And that will finish off the card. Now in the pictures you'll notice I added little box with check marks. It's honestly, I just wanted to add an extra element, and I hand drew that. So keep that in mind too. You can just hand draw on your cards. It's authorized. All right, let's move into the third way to use pattern paper. I don't know how some of you are going to feel about this because it looks like it took a long time. I decided that I was going to use my images on my pattern paper as elements for my card. Now, when I first started doing this, I was like, oh yeah, I'll cut out a couple hearts. I ended up cutting all of them out, I know. But the fun thing was I checked my stash and I found a die that was the exact size of these hearts, which actually made it easier because I only had to go partially in. See how I'm doing it? And then I'm pulling it back out. I only had to do that, 50 times. It did take a while, but I had a movie on. It was fine. And look how cute. It's so cute. And if you think you know where I'm going with this card, you are absolutely correct. I'm going to make a shaker card with that leftover piece from card number 1. And I'm just going to show you up close how cute these hearts are. They're like the little candy. Oh, so sweet. All right, so I am going to, like I said, take that panel that I cut out from the first card, and look at this blended piece here. This is the part Adia thought that I blended myself. She's like, wow, that's really good. And I'm not saying we can't get it that good, but it was just a lot easier on my tricep by pulling the sheet out of the paper pad. So I'm going to die cut that with 3 hearts that I have. I have the nesting die hearts. I'm having a lot of fun with hearts today. And I am going to, wait till you see how these show up on the front of the panel. Just like such a wow factor, really. On the back of my frame, I'm going to take some double-sided adhesive, and this is what I'm going to use to put my acetate on, because like I said, we're making a shaker. And I like to do this instead of liquid glue. I just feel like it's less slippery, and once I put the acetate down, it's not going anywhere. So we're good to go on that. So I get that acetate down into place. And then I turn it over and I put some double-sided adhesive on my hearts, and now I'm placing my hearts at the front as well. And so adding extra elements on top of your card panel when you're doing a shaker is so fun. And I'm going to show you how not to get wasted space on underneath the hearts from behind, so that we're not letting the shaker bits fall all the way to the bottom. So we'll fix that in a second. I have my shaker bits. It was a hard decision I had to make here, because I wanted to use the hearts in there, but I also wanted to have a little bit of bling. And so anyway, you'll see what I ended up with. I'm going to take my 1/4 inch double-sided foam, and I believe this is 2 or 3 millimeter thickness. So I don't need to like double it up to get a lot of movement in my shaker bits. I mean, I probably could have gone, I think it's 2 millimeter. I could have gone with the 3 millimeter, which made it a little bit easier. But here's the tip. Just cut across like I am on the heart, right across, so shaker bits cannot fall down to the bottom. This way they'll always stay up at the top, which is just a great use for your shaker cards. Now here is a hack of all hacks. Take out your foam from your MISTI. If you have a scoreboard, that works too. And place down your shaker card into it. Okay. Remove all of your backing paper. Be very careful when I start adding the shaker bits. I even put a note on the screen. Be very careful not to shake or move around your panel, because once those shaker bits are in there, if anything kind of like pops your panel up, all those bits are going to stick right to the adhesive, because I already moved the paper. Okay, I'm going to start filling up my shaker bits here, or my panel. I'm using these. I'm using the hearts. Obviously, you want to place the hearts sentiments towards the front. And then I'm adding some bling as well, some stars and some sequins. And I'm just going to town with it. Like, it's just, I don't add too much, but different, a variety. Then you're going to take your panel, make sure it's correctly aligned, meaning the fold is at the top where it's supposed to be. And you're just going to fit it right into that 90-degree corner, and it aligns perfectly. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate that hack, because it has saved me from misaligning things many times. And the only thing missing from this card is a sentiment. So we're going to go bold, and we're going to use one of them that I already heat embossed. And it says "Love You Bunches," and we're just going to put that right up in the corner, and I feel like this finishes off this card so beautifully. It makes it pop, and that blended cardstock from scrapbook.com knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. You might feel like that's a sham, because you should be ink blending your backgrounds, but I like a shortcut every now and again. All right, so there's the finished card. I added some white highlights to my hearts, and we'll call that done. Let's move into the next way to use pattern paper, and that is paper piecing. Okay, so think of an example. Let's say you have an image of a woman, and she's wearing a big hat and a big scarf. You can stamp that image onto your pattern paper and then cut out those elements and then add them to a stamped image. That's basically what paper piecing is. I'm doing it in a different way here, where I am just using it as a heart. You'll notice that I said not to use smudgy ink. That's because you're going to be fussy cutting it likely, so you want to make sure you're not rubbing your ink into like pigment. I always like to recommend that you outline your images with a black marker as well. It just kind of cleans them up quite a bit. All right, so I'm going to emboss with a stencil. And so I'm laying down my first two platforms in the shim, then the silicone mat, the paper, the stencil, and the adapter plate. This is for the Spellbinders machine. And I got this beautiful embossed image of hearts. Just something soft and subtle on the background. You can't even really see it with the lighting in my office, but it just adds a nice little element to it. You can also do some fun additions with like your scoreboard and just kind of score lines in it. It just adds a little interest to a white background. All right, next tip, outline your background matte with glitter, like a glitter pen or something like that. And it's so great because it's like kind of like a cheater's code for glitter cardstock. You don't really need all that glitter cardstock for every color. So that's another way to do it. And then also use some press and seal for pulling back up a perfectly placed arrangement of your images. I know it's really frustrating for me when I get them all exactly as I want them and then I have to move them to glue them. So that's a really great tip I saw somewhere and I just find it to be very useful. Now I was surprised though, my press and seal pulled up my paper right here on my pattern paper. That was kind of shocking. I didn't think that was going to happen. I must have had something sticky on my press and seal. I don't know. So I just glued it back down. Boom, fixed. And we're moving on. I added some glitter pen to my hearts and I'm going to turn these into balloons. I took one of those other beautiful bold sentiments there and I'm placing them right down into the corner of my cardstock. Like I said, I matted this on a gray piece and then I'm just going to go in with a black marker and just create little strings for my balloons. And that's it. This was a very simple card and it was a great way to make the pattern papers really stand out on the front panel without having it overwhelming. So I think that's probably why I've shied away from pattern paper in the past, is because sometimes I feel overwhelmed with what to do with it. But that was just one of my favorite ideas on how to use it. So there's some finished off pictures of the card and yeah, very simple, very clean. That was fun. All right, let's move into our last idea that I have for you today, and that is to make stripes. So I have those leftover pieces of pattern paper because I was using the hearts, cutting the hearts into them, and I don't want it to go to waste, so I'm just going to cut some strips out of it. This was surprisingly quick to do. I just glue the first piece of my strip here, and the great thing about this is you don't have to, nor should you, cut them evenly. Like you can just do literally any size you want, and it brings the image and the pattern together really fun. Then I'm going to use my glue, my liquid adhesive, and I'm just going to put a very thin line on the white next to that piece. And then you just start laying down all of the pieces. That's it. That's how simple this technique is. And because they're all from the same paper pad, this one's from the Enchanted, it's going to come together very, very nicely. Again, one of the reasons why I love the packs of pattern paper is because they really do such a great job at coordinating all of those color hues together where I don't have to think about it. And so I just go through, like I said, some thin, some are thicker, and I'm going to just lay those down, and you can cover the whole sheet or you can just leave it kind of half filled. That's how I did it here. You can cover it and then die cut it with sentiments, with images, however you like. So I'm just going to trim off the sides there, and it's just so funny how like this is like the reveal. It comes out so nice and clean, and I'm really, really happy with the end result here. Now, as I'm looking at this, I was like, okay, what do I want to do with this? I don't even know what kind of card this is. But I decided to make it a thanks card. So I took out my block letters thanks die, and I have it in like a light pink glitter cardstock, and then this really dark, almost looks purplish, but it's really super dark thanks as well. And I'm going to do a little bit of inlay die cutting. So that's where you have your outline, and then you just lay in the letters for the rest of it, so you can kind of bring it all together. You can leave this as an outline if you want. That's what's great about the die, is it's a 2-for-1. Or you can fill it in with the letters. So I decided to do that just to make that thanks really stand out on my card. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is add some pearls to this. These are from Pink Fresh Studios, I believe, and they have like the iridescent look to it. They're not silver, not gold. They have the holographic iridescent look, and they're so, so pretty. So I just added those to the card just for a little something extra, and those are my cards that we made. So that one's close up right there. Now, everything I used in this video is listed below if you want to check that out. I'll see you in the comments down below, and in the next video, or in class, or wherever we meet again. Okay, bye-bye.